Welcome to Peculiar Stories, where we explore the fascinating world of near-death experiences and offer new perspectives on the meaning of life and death. Our goal is to shed light on these profound stories, deepen your understanding of life, and provide valuable insights to our audience. Whether you're new here or simply joining us again, we're thrilled to have you on this journey. If you enjoy what we do, consider subscribing to our channel to stay updated on our latest content. And don't forget to hit the like button to help our content reach a wider audience. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be transported to the edge of life and beyond. My name is Sandy Patel, and this is my story. When I checked into the hospital, the receptionist asked if had a living will, and if I brought it. I responded yes I did, but I didn't bring it because I was told only to bring what I needed to the hospital. I didn't think I was going to need my living will. My husband was asked to return to the waiting room as I was escorted to the pre-operation area. Laying on the gurney in pre-op, I was candid with the staff. They were asking routine questions regarding my meds and allergies while setting up medicine drips. My eyes began to tear up from anxiety. The nurse said, "You seem upset." "Well, you would be too, if your heart was going to be in someone's hands." She responded, "Well, this is not emergency surgery. You know you can get up off this table and walk out of here." Was it a premonition she had, or a subtle hint that she knew something about the doctor and procedure that she couldn't tell me? In hindsight, she seemed fearful for me. The anesthesiologist came to meet me, and I candidly said to him, "I know you are the most important person in the operating room. Take good care of me. My blood pressure drops fast and low." He assured me everything would be fine. I asked the nurse if my husband could come back and be with me. It was comforting for both of us to see each other. Soon they began wheeling me towards the operating room. In the hallway, the nurse asked my husband if he wanted to give me one last kiss. Little did we know that those words would haunt him for the next 2 days. As I climbed up on the operating table, I was in awe of the equipment in the room, especially the huge 6-screen television. When the anesthesiologist placed the mask over my face, I motioned for him to stop. I asked both he and the surgeon to take good care of me. 2 days later, I heard my oldest son outside my hospital room saying, "What the hell happened? She didn't sign up for this." He wanted an explanation of how I ended up on a ventilator and had 12 other tubes coming out of my bloated body. I had been told the ablation procedure would take about 5 hours, and I would spend 1 night in the hospital for observation. During my last visit to the doctor's office, I asked him if he was good at what he does, and does he know what he is doing. He assured me he was, and he did. Nearly 7 hours since I went into surgery had passed, and my husband could not get an answer from the receptionist regarding how much longer would it be. She later said she knew what was going on with me, but wasn't allowed to tell him. In a few minutes, the doctor came out and waved my husband into a back office. He told him that they lost me on the table, and my only hope was to be put into an induced hypothermia coma. He said I had a 42% chance of surviving, but no promises if I'd be normal or a vegetable or somewhere in between. They needed his permission to proceed. He agreed. According to the hospital report, everything was going fine until the doctor made one last swipe and he punctured a hole in the back wall of my heart. I bleed into the sac, and the heart had no room to beat. I remember being set up on the side of the table when they put a drain into the peritoneum to drain the blood, and someone was rubbing profusely on my chest and back. Next, I recall being aware of being beat up and kind of bouncing up and down on my back. Later, I found out my heart had stopped for 39 minutes, and they did 3,900 chest compressions and 15 attempts at shocking me to get my heart to beat. I thought to myself, this can't be right. This can't be right. Something has gone terribly wrong. I heard a woman say, "Her face is white. Her face is gray." Weeks later, these events were confirmed by the hospital staff. I saw myself in a 4-sided box with thick black walls. Suddenly I felt very peaceful and calm, and I thought to myself, I guess this is the way it's going to end for me. I felt foolish that I never thought about how I would die. Everything was pitch black, and then I saw a white egg-shaped dome beyond my feet, off in a distance. It was made from leaded glass in various shades of white. I recall myself looking down at my body lying in bed and a nurse coming at me saying, "This is your heparin." I saw a second person standing behind her. I felt like the nurse was not a good person, and I wanted to fight her off, but I felt paralyzed, and there was no one to help me. This happened twice. I was put in a hypothermia coma, They dropped my body temperature to 83 degrees. Through 39 degrees saline they put in my body through a tube in my right femoral artery. This would take 24 hours, and then they would warm me back up for the next 20 hours. Meanwhile, my family flew and drove in from all corners and waited to see what was going to happen. I soon became the code white, and it seemed like everyone in the hospital knew of me. Everyone associated with coronary care and the hospital director certainly did. During the next 2 days, there was a nurse in my room every minute monitoring and recording every change in my body. I had 8 IV bags. If my blood pressure went up, they gave me something. If it went down, they gave me something else. I had every machine possible beside my bed to keep me alive and let my brain rest and recover. Around midnight, 2 days after my heart stopped, I was warmed up, and once my vitals were stable, they took me off the paralytic. My family was warned not to startle me for fear my heart couldn't take it. I heard my husband say, "If you can hear me, squeeze my hand," which I did. My sister asked me to squeeze with the other hand, which I did. The nurses told me to move my toes. No problem. The family was so relieved. I'd come through with no damage except I was weak and exhausted. When I woke up, I knew I was not in a regular recovery room, and I was in big trouble. I had machines and tubes everywhere. Most of my family was there, and I knew things were not good. Plus, I remembered some of the events in the operating room, so I had a clue that this was not normal. That day, the operating room nurses came in when they heard I was awake. I still had tubes in my throat, so I gave them a thumbs up. The nurse that had told me I didn't have to stay for the surgery said she had worried about me for 2 days and felt guilty for what happened. I had been dealing with a fibrillation long enough that I could not only feel it, I knew how to read the heart monitor. After all that, I was still in a fibrillation. When the doctor came in, I told him, "I'm finished with ablations." He said he was too. The director of the coronary unit confirmed that he had at least 3 surgeries go wrong and 1 man died, which he told me about before my surgery. The rest of the story includes recovery in the hospital for 14 days and a long time at home as well. I couldn't sleep lying flat in bed for 10 days because my ribs and sternum had been broken during CPR. I had nightmares and couldn't stand to watch anything violent on television. The silver lining is I've lost 14 pounds, am closer to my family, will be retiring early, and am taking good care of myself by going to the gym 2 hours a day and eating healthier. I want to come out of this situation in better shape than I went into it. I had to die before I could start living for myself. Watch this near-death experience next about a woman who falls from a cliff where she met Jesus.